Good morning. Good morning. It's Tuesday, and man, I have a sweater on, and it's the middle of summer, and I have a heater going because my air conditioning is cold, and just living the humid life here in Wisconsin. Don't know what your weather is by you, but thank you for joining for this webinar. It is absolutely my pleasure. I honestly feel so good about sharing this with you. And we have a couple minutes as people are still joining. So I want you to grab your beverage. I'm just having a little San Pellegrino. Feel free to have some coffee. I already had some coffee as I started my day a little earlier, and would love for you to have what you need. I love virtual spaces because you don't have to leave your house, because you can come as you are, because you could maybe do it while your kids are in a training session or in a sport or in a lesson. I love that. And we'll have more of this webinar available. This is really, really a deep part of my heart and coaching and nursing to be sharing this with you. I'm going to make sure my screen is ready to share. The comments are open and available. I will be checking them. And oh yes, my share is ready. Yay. So as we're going through, if you can't see me or hear me, these are things I would want to know about. If you can't see the screen, these are things I would want to know about. If you have feedback, these are things I want to hear about. The thing I love about feedback is that I would ask that if you have feedback to give, I want you to give the feedback and then the solution or an example. I'm totally open for that. That's how I grow. That's how everybody who's here grows. That's why I think this space is so valuable. So you are here for how to communicate in any situation. As we have the last couple minutes here, I will introduce myself if we have not crossed paths. My name is Andrea Romer. I am a life coach. I also am a practicing ICU nurse and nurse communicator. And I value the space of taking care of patients and families at the bedside. And I really love helping nurses and healthcare professionals, doctors have a substantive, profitable, rewarding, successful, and sustainable career in healthcare. And that never precludes or excludes making changes, but I think there is always a time where we get emotional labor and have emotional labor from doing the work we do. And I can help you with that. So I live in Madison, Wisconsin, and I have 2 kids, and I have a husband, and I have a cabin that we go to northern Wisconsin just to be away from work and have fun. And that's kind of about me. So if there's anything you want to share about you in the chat, I would love to hear it. What are you doing this summer? What aren't you doing this summer? That's typically the question that I like to ask people. What are you not going to do today that's going to change your life? That's so much more impactful than adding one more thing to our list. So you came here to find out how to communicate in any situation. So let's start this. Hello, hello, hello. I have helped so many clinicians live in the story that working in healthcare will burn you out, and I will help you understand that working in healthcare will fill your cup. Let's go. I define communication as what we say, what we hear, our pace, our tempo, our energy, our positioning, and I'm going to speak of 2 things today, mostly the intangible and tangible pieces of communication. The reason that I can get nurses, patients, and their families and other clinicians to feel amazing while doing incredibly hard work is with communication tools, intangible and tangible. What I call communication tangible, and I will share my screen, so that you just don't have to see me. Communication intangibles, the opposite of what our brains tell us. Because communication intangible is something that you cannot see, something that is not a physical something that's difficult to put your finger on, something that you can only sense and feel. It's your energy. You can probably sense my energy today. I'm really confident in this work, and I'm really welcoming and open to sharing space with other people without knowing what's going to happen. I totally get how this can be something to wrap your mind around. There are two types. There's negative communication intangibles, and there are positive communication intangibles. So I want to pause here, and I want to see if you can write down some of the thoughts that you have about yourself as a communicator. Just as I have some up here where I started from many, many, many years ago. And I'm going to stop this share for a minute. And as we are talking about these intangibles, have you ever thought about what your energy is? And what is the one thing that you want to really take away today? And maybe you didn't know what you were going to be able to take away. So just write those down on a piece of paper right now. What are your thoughts about you as a communicator? What do you want to take away from today? What's your energy typically like when you're communicating? Let me give you 30 seconds as people are still rolling in to start writing the answers to those. If you're just joining, we have about 15 seconds left on these 3 questions to get written down on paper. What do you want to take from today? And if you didn't know what to expect, that's okay. What do you think about yourself as a communicator currently? What's your typical energy when you're communicating? Now that you've got those down, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the screen share. Communication helps us build evidence and confidence because we do it constantly. It builds reps quickly. It gives us a way to be involved in our work, a usable item in an existing space. We do it all the time. We do it at home, we do it at work, and we can always be flipping and flopping those times when we're using these. So what you're taking from today, you don't have to just use at home, you can also use at work. You don't just have to use it at work, you can use it at home. So here's some of the negative communication intangibles that I hear when I'm talking with someone, a clinician that feels like they are struggling. I'm not a good communicator. It will be too hard to connect. I can tell that they don't want to connect with me. And then there are those days when we're thinking, my day is going great. I am connecting and feeling good. I could do this forever. This is the best job ever. This is from our positive communication intangibles. And we're feeling an energy that feels positive because we're thinking, my day is going great. I am connecting. I'm feeling good. I could do this forever. This is the best job ever. That works when we get feedback from our environment that we're doing a good job. But when we get into our parts of our work where we don't get that feedback, where topics are hard, where things just are not going good for anybody, and we have to carve out our own positive communication intangibles, this is the work we're doing. We want to take what we're feeling and thinking on those days when we're having positive communication intangibles. We want to use it to bridge us on the days that we're having negative communication intangibles. So if you've written down intangibles, those are that is the thing that we're talking about. The thing that is not a physical something. It's hard to put your finger on. Something that you can only sense and feel, your energy. So let's go back to the thing we think about a lot here, which is communication tangibles. I'm going to take you a moment to give you communication tangibles. You might be thinking that you are creating communication and giving communication, creating connection and directness and creating safety and being what you want and getting what you want from people with your tangibles. There are 3 different types of tangibles, your work. That's number 1, the unit, environment, people, role, and I know what data to give. We think that when that is in line, then our communication is in line. And so when we're struggling, we're going to talk about this. The next thing is your experience, certification, education, degree. I have the right credentials to speak to this. Patience and system. I didn't write anything there. Let me get to my notes. Who the people are, your patients. They are super sick, not sick, walkie-talkie, open, not open, more your kind of people, easy to connect with, not needing so much. And this goes for patients, their families, your interdisciplinary team. I have a hard time communicating because the situation sucks. It is a hard environment. No one is committed to change and they don't listen. So all of those things that come with our patients and our healthcare system. And so just going back to the you part, this is just the tangibles, the things that we can change that are circumstances. Get more experience under our belts, get more education, more certification, advanced degrees. Of course, those are amazing, but it has to be coupled with communication intangibles. We think that once we have these 3 things, work, you, patients and system under control, we're going to start having great communication and what great communication gives us, which is being able to share hard news, being able to connect in any situation, being able to want to care for people and not people please, being able to take things to the next level, break down conflict, figure out culture and diversity, make good financial decisions. All of these things happen with good communication. The list could go on and on. And so let's already start to tie together the question that I asked you, which is, what do you want to take from today? And you may have said, I want to build a better relationship with, well, part of that is going to have to do with accepting that you might be a nurse practitioner, and getting your next certification will not be the place that will speak to this, but improving your relationship will come from inviting communication intangibles. So I want to have a better relationship. Give yourself so much credit for being a nurse practitioner, and we're going to give you the intangibles today, and you can walk away today using these. We will talk more about that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our thoughts are what predominantly create these intangibles. Now that is a simplified concept, but that's where I wanted to take us today. You might have been thinking that I was going to teach you how to say words, which I kind of am, and tell you what to say and offer the way to do it. I am, but we're taking it way back to root cause and simplification. So we have negative communicating intangibles, the way you think, the way you feel, or how you feel, and the energy you give off when you are communicating. Now, I call these thought errors. Thoughts we think are true. We never think to question, but they do not help us produce what we want. And so to produce more communication, we have to be thinking thoughts that help us feel a way, that helps us get ourselves communicating more. So some of these thoughts, and I hope that you don't feel called out. I don't want you to. And if you do, I'm just going to take a moment to say it might feel like a lurch in your body, or it might feel like an elevated heart rate, or you might feel like just leaving. And that's okay if any of those things are true. The fact of the matter is that you're not doing anything wrong. We are just learning to question the sentences we tell ourselves in our minds. And I have said each and every one of these. My communication isn't good enough. I don't know how to do it. You don't talk about the hard things. You don't share about the care you give or the great work you're doing with anyone. I'm just, this won't help me or them. It's nurses versus doctors. We don't talk about feelings in the ICU. This cannot be a good time. This is a toxic environment. They have an objection and you're unsure of what to say. When somebody says they're getting better, right? This is temporary, right? And you're like, so you object back or you just don't say anything. So these are things, these are thought errors that go through our minds, but then help us take these actions, which is you object back. You just don't say anything. You're not sure how to help them. You feel confused and overwhelmed. You may not connect with the value in the care that you are giving or how valuable having someone directly communicate with them is. So your communication with them is so valuable. You may have judgments about your patients or families or your interdisciplinary team. They don't want this. They do want this. They shouldn't want this, or they don't understand or not getting it, or they keep asking you the same thing, even though you just talked about it. They don't trust you. This energy feels bad to you and them. And it's not that they don't trust you. They haven't met the real you yet because it's been shrouded by these thought errors. So this was a lot. And I know for me, in these moments that I'm at work or working as a coach or on webinars, these are all the same things that we all think. We don't stop ever getting rid of these. We just stop giving them importance. My communication isn't good enough. I could think that right now, that I'm too disorganized in giving you this. Or when I go to yesterday I was at the bedside and I was talking about death and dying someone, and I was thinking, this isn't good enough for what they're going through, but I could not give that importance. So I'm going to give us 30 seconds to just pause and kind of process this and see if we have questions. I'm taking less than 30 seconds because I don't see anything and I really wanted this to be effective and not too long for you guys. So I love to turn these into questions, positive and tangible. Then you get answers, more data and evidence to celebrate what to solve for and to solve for. So my communication isn't good enough. What is good about my communication, or what isn't good? So I like to create a little safety for myself. What's good, Andrea, about this? What isn't good enough? I'll just answer this in real time. What's good about this is that we are connecting. I think I'm giving you enough information to start from. And what isn't good enough is that my visuals might not be great. Maybe I didn't end up spending enough time getting enough people here for us to bounce ideas off of. I don't know how to do it. What do I know how to do? And what don't I know how to do? Create safety for yourself, turn it into a question first, and then ask a different question as well. This won't help me or them. What will help them? How could I find out what will help them? And what is it that I'm thinking won't help them? So you can screenshot this, or you can reach out to me to get these questions, and you can simply use them over and over and over again. The thing about all of us is that we grow, we plateau, we grow, we plateau. So wherever you're at, if a month from now you've totally changed your communication style and you flow, you're feeling great, amazing, and then boom, you hit a wall, this is a great time to ask those questions, because it's just that we go back to asking the same, sharing the same thought errors in our minds, and we just have to re-up this work. When I'm going to talk to someone, a patient or a family, about their life, their loved one's lives, or their goals, or even a nurse in my private coaching about these things, and I'm thinking they don't want to talk to me, this is a topic that is too uncomfortable to talk about. This is too hard. Negative thoughts that make me feel bad, they make me create a negative energy. And all of a sudden that negative energy starts like connecting with them, not because I'm harming them or want to hurt them or make them feel a way. They can just feel my energy. It's kind of like body odor. You walk by somebody and they smell so good, like a Veda, you're like, ah, give it to me. Or there's those that maybe you're like, ooh, yeah, that smells like onion. And it's an energetic effect, just like a scent. And so let me tell you a little bit about this energetic effect. I was taking care of a woman at the bedside, and she was a director of nursing, and I had her in the ICU, and she was doing very well and probably was going to step down, and she was a vascular patient. And I had a very sick patient with her, and I was behind on her meds. I didn't help with her bath. I didn't help walk her. I sat down on the edge of the bed when I was late giving her meds, and she'd already eaten breakfast. I sat down and I just said, hey, tell me about you. You were a director of nursing. I can't even imagine what you've seen. And we talked for probably 15 minutes. And at the end of the day, even though I didn't give her what I thought was my best care, my energy was such that she did tell me that I was the best nurse she'd ever had. And I mean, my brain was like, how could that even be? Because it's never that exact physical care we give. It is, but it's also an energetic care. So hopefully that example gets your juices flowing on times when you can notice your energy and when it's going really well, and how do you take what you're thinking and feeling there. Like that day I was thinking, there's nothing I can do about this. I was thinking thoughts that helped me take action to communicate with her. In doing that, my energy was good. We connected. This is the beauty of communication, intangible. Positive or negative, you've got to have both. We just don't get anywhere without somewhere having a negative intangible, changing it to a positive, or including it with a positive, and then growing. It's always going to happen. You can be 2 years into your nursing or clinical practice as a nurse, as any kind of healthcare professional. You can be 10 years in, 20. The most important factor is your energy. Your coworkers, patients, and families do have a reaction to your energy. That's why high vibes don't feel good to us, because it is misplaced energy without the thinking and feeling behind it. That's all. I'm going to repeat that. This is why high vibes don't feel good to us, because it's misplaced energy without the thinking and feeling behind it. It's us trying to build belief in that moment. And we all have those moments when our brains are filled with negative communication intangibles. There's not room in your brain to listen, explain, support, or even show up as your true self. That's why I said they haven't even met you yet. And then people are like, fine, I'm done with this combo. I'm done connecting. We don't get what we or they need. We don't connect and we don't feel good. Those are the days when you may not show up perfectly, but that connection, energetic connection isn't there. And so we don't have to beat ourselves up, but we do get to think about our intangibles. Most people that come to me after trying to get a new job, get a different role, getting a different job, a new role, better work environment, less toxic people, less sick patients, more education. When we spend our time solving for these things, then we don't always see the changes that we want. We don't communicate the way we want. We don't get all of that belief built and evidence built, and then we just start back where we are. So if you want to really embrace your intangibles, we're going to want to work together. I want you to be able to focus on solving for the intangibles. So we're going to jump into the busy working triad, doing a lot of tasks and changes and not feeling better or more connected, like perfecting your credentials, looking professional, being professional, and having knowledge, finding a perfect job. We all struggle with trying to invest in time with these intangibles. With these tangibles, pardon me, the busy working triad is tangibles. We all try to work on that. We all have the struggle. We all have these thought errors, things that keep us from communicating and essentially thriving at work. So I'm going to recap before we go into patients, negative intangibles. Let's just recap what we've covered. We've covered communication tangibles, which we think are where our work, parts of us, or our system or roles, patients or systems. We talked about our communication intangibles, positive and negative. We talked about turning some of these into questions and how we're going to use them over and over. We can use them at home. We can use them at work. We're all going to have these. And oftentimes people don't even get to our real true selves because we haven't gotten there for ourselves first. And then we're like, why aren't we connecting? Because they've never really met you. The busy working triad, the things that we get busy doing, the actions that we take, and it's just not the investment that we want to be making. We want to be investing our time in changing how we think of these things. We want to be investing our time in something that might require us to try something harder, which is to ask a question, get an answer, and then use it. So what I'd like you to take from this today is, if you're thinking about, well, this is passive, you and I talking with each other. You're consuming and I'm sharing, and I want you to spend at least a half an hour today thinking about this and then using it, even if you're at home. Use it with your dog, use it with your kids, use it with your spouse, use it with your mom, and then take it to work and use it. Okay, so here's an example. My communication isn't good enough. What is good about my communication? What am I trying to communicate? What would I like to change? And then enact those by thinking, oh, it's possible. I'm already good at this. That is the work I'd like you to be doing. And I want you to spend as much time, equal time consuming as in actively working on things. Instead of getting busy doing that working triad, we're creating a new triad. Okay, we're going to go into patients' negative intangibles. I never assume that patients are happy to see me or be there. I give them space. I adjust energy to them without giving up mine. I still get to keep my energy, but I can match them when I'm caring for them or talking with them. Now, you can't get anxious enough for some patients and families. And so that means you just have to be a little step under them. And that doesn't mean that when you leave the room that you keep that with you. Like when you go in, you zip up your sleeping bag of energy, knowing that you get to have an amazing life. You get to go in and you get to almost match where they're at. If they're anxious, you want to be just a little under that. And maybe you are super happy right now. Your day is great. You just came off 10 days of vacation in the Bahamas and it was amazing. That feels really high energy and great, if you can imagine that. Then you have a very high anxiety patient. Those are similar feelings in your body, but two things that probably are going to clash. And so when you go in, zip up your Bahamas energy and a little bit of a zipping and a sleeping bag, zip it up like to here. Okay, so you can see this. And then you don't want to go all the way to anxiety, but you want to go somewhere like, I hear you, I'm actively present, yet I'm calm. Like, how does that seem? The sleeping bag always helps me because I typically have a lot of energy and I need to meet people where they are. This alone will open up your communication in a new way. You will have an open door to any conversation if you take this step. Ultimately, patients will be having a hard time envisioning how to get through the next couple of minutes, hours, and days. And so they may not be believing in themselves. And so you're going to need to hold some belief that they're okay for them. And when I say minutes, you might be walking in and saying, hey, I'm just on vacation. I'm ready to put in an IV. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so scared of needles. Like, you just get to help them through minutes, hours, and days. And that comes from helping ourselves first. Positive communication intangibles. Here are the things to use and troubleshoot communication. These are the skills I teach and will give some ideas for. Get your brain clear. You are really good at communicating and at what you do. You spend probably not enough time, in my opinion, focusing on that thought and building evidence for that. So I challenge you to do that today. Write this down, screenshot it. You are really good at communicating and at what you do. It is okay to give healthcare that patients want. We have a lot of thoughts about our healthcare system. We have a lot of thoughts about what people do and don't want. They are there, they want it. And I wonder if you're thinking, I wonder if they want this, then ask them. Do not make their energy and sickness mean that you cannot have your own energy and be good at your job and use the sleeping bag. Number 2, make a connection right away. There's no task that is more important than making a connection. And that might mean making a connection with you first and being like, oh, my energy. Oh, I think I need to get my tasks done. But Andrea said that that's not the most important. So if I want to save myself trouble in the future, not trouble, work, time in the future, I better get to my intangibles first. Know your energy, mind it, walk it out for that walk out if you need to for that reason. If you feel your anxiety energy reaching anxiety levels, that's going to be like a brick wall of communication. Just be like, oh, I gotta go, and just go. Excuse yourself for a few minutes. You have to try things. Like I said today, you're consuming now. I want to see you actively trying communication skills. So if there's something that you need to communicate with your family at home, or if you're going into work today or tomorrow, try this stuff. Evaluate with kindness to yourself. Start with the safety. Ask that question first. What am I good at? What might they want to know? You can't get any evidence about your patients without asking them a question. You can't get anything from yourself without asking you a question. Since you are not a problem, discuss their objections. Since you're not a problem. You are a good communicator. There's nothing going on with you here that you need to seek out any more help for. You are good at what you do. Discuss their objections, what they don't understand in a way that makes them feel safe, just like you do for you. Not create safety. They will say yes, they understand. Oh, got what I was saying there. We know when we don't create safety because people say yes, they don't know, and they aren't willing to tell us, and we see it happening over and over and over again. They don't say what's really on their mind, and they don't participate fully in their care. Hey, we are not bad for this. We're just learning as nurses to do this for ourselves so that we can always model it for our patients. Help our patients with decision making. That means they might be thinking about all of these bad things happening for them. Give them choices. Then show them, like, that was a decision we made. Like, do you want to take your pills now, or do you want to take them in 5 minutes? That's a really random example. And then say, you did a great job making that decision. What else is on your mind, or what decisions can we make right now? Decision making creates our life. That's a whole nother webinar. Lastly, have fun. Have fun with this. Okay, so we are wrapping up here. Let me find where I'm at in my notes. When you work on all of these things, you will be loving communicating. Remember, negative communicating intangibles, the way you think, how you feel, the energy you give off when you're communicating. I don't know why I put that in last, but I did. So I'm going to give you a second to show me in the chat if you need me to go back for you to screenshot any of these. I can certainly send these to you if you put your email in the chat. And I'm going to stop the share. So these things, you could change your absolute life in 2 to 3 weeks if you just use these things. This doesn't take months. It's not like getting a degree. You literally can start working on it tomorrow, and you will be absolutely getting clear in your mind, releasing, solving for tangibles, using discomfort and courage to try all these things. This is what helps, and you'll see a change immediately, but you'll really notice a change in 2 to 3 weeks. It literally changes your life doing this every shift, every day, every conversation. Well, this is all I have. And so if you want to put your email in the chat, I will send you insight in your inbox every week. You can be part of Andrea Romer Coaching, the Culture of One, the Overcoming Burnout Management System email list. And if you are ready for a change and to create all this, it's possible for you. If you are ready to work with me for 6 weeks, one-to-one coaching, or with my colleague, Andrew Navarro, we can certainly get that going now. Or if you just want to meet and talk more for a consult, we can do that too, because that creates safety. What if you, I'm going to leave you with this last question. What if you no longer had to rethink your career, or how much? Okay, let me slow this down. Oftentimes, the barrier I see for people is that they think that they're doing things wrong, that this career is wrong, that despite all of the investment they have put into their tangibles, they are bad and can't make it work. That sound like something you've thought before? Hell's bells, me too. What if you no longer had to rethink your career? What if you could start with these intangibles? How much less stress would that be? And then what would you be spending your time on? It has been an absolute pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for the work you do in the world. I know it's hard to receive, but please try and get out there and do this work.